Prynhawn da, pawb, prynhawn da, croeso cynnes I chi gyd, diolch yn fawr am ymuno â ni. Welcome, good afternoon. It's lovely to see people joining. We're on to the fourth session in our Lunch and Learn series. Whilst people are joining, please introduce yourselves in the chat. Say hello, tell us who you are, your name, maybe job title and organisation, and the most important bit is what's for lunch today. If you can add that in the chat, it always makes for fascinating reading and inspiration for later in the week. So that would be great. I can see quite a few people have joined already, which is wonderful. So please dive into the chat. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and where, and lunch. That would be great. And we'll get started in just a moment. There's a few more people arriving. It's great to see everyone. Hello, welcome. If you've just joined us, hopefully you can hear and see everything okay. We're about to get started in a moment or two, but for now, croeso cynnes, diolch am ddod. Thank you for coming to join us this afternoon. Please say hello in the chat. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and where, because we're fascinated to see where people come from, which organisation are you part of, and also we're really nosy and would like to know what you've got for lunch today. It's a talking point and of much interest. So mine was a really interesting vegan chicken, bacon and mayonnaise sandwich, because I'm in Spark in Cardiff today and they got fancy sandwiches.
Nice.
Very nice. Granary bread too.
Oh,
Lovely. Okay, still got a couple of people arriving. It's 13:03 by me, so perhaps we'll make a start, if that's okay. So let's start at the top officially, and I'm going to say prynhawn da, croeso, good afternoon, welcome. This is the fourth session in our Lunch and Learn series, What Does Good Look Like? It's brought to you by the Centre for Digital Public Services, and I am Peter Thomas. I'm Head of Digital Skills and Capability in CDPS, and I'm here deputising for our comms manager, Mike. So Mike arranges all of these usually, but Mike's unavailable today, so I'm here just to chair. So today we are continuing our journey of digital transformation success stories from across the public sector in Wales. We're featuring best practice case studies from health boards, local government and arm's length bodies. So whether you're a seasoned digital professional or you're new to this entire digital transformation journey, this series is all about equipping you with the knowledge and inspiration needed to drive meaningful change in your organisation. A week ago, we welcomed the Chief Operating Officer from the WRA, Rebecca Godfrey, who shared how they were changing the way they work, moving to a services-led organisation, focus on user-centred design. If you missed that session and the ones previous to that, don't worry, they're all on our YouTube channel where you can access our entire Lunch and Learn playlist. And Elise is hopefully going to drop a little link into the chat any moment now, if she hasn't already. But for today's session, we're delighted to have join us Linda James, Service Designer at Linc Cymru Housing Association, and Joe Harvey, Product Manager at Wales and West Housing. And in 20 minutes, there's no pressure, they are going to tell us the story of how they researched, co-designed and worked together to procure and release products for care planning, medication distribution and stock control, as well as working schedules for staff, all in one fell swoop. So there's a lot going on here. Sit back, make sure you've got a drink and something sugary to keep up, I think, because it's going to be intense. So definite challenge there, both. Thank you very much. We encourage active participation from the audience, so please feel free to share your questions, comments, insights, experiences in the chat all the way through the session, and we'll make sure there's time at the end to cover what's said. So I'll come back at the end, but without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Linda and Joe. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I'll go for it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lynn.
Okay. Lovely.
Right. So, yeah, it is going to be a bit of a whistle-stop tour. We took on quite a feat within Linc to transform our 3 nursing homes from paper to being fully digital over the space of about 8 months. So it was a pretty quick project. So we focused on care planning systems, electronic medication, as we said, and rostering. I suppose we've got a bit of a spoiler alert at the bottom here that they did love it, but we'll come on to that later. So the problem we had, we needed to get everyone digital within our care planning, EMAs and rostering. We went with a co-design approach, and we worked very closely to build a really good program board of people from exec director level right through to our care team and those that had boots on the ground. And that was a really, really important part of what made this project so successful. And we've taken that on to every project since, which has been brilliant. Our challenges, so technophobes, we've got a lot of them, and it's about bringing those people on the journey with us and equipping them to feel confident in what they need to do, and hopefully eventually loving the solutions that come in as well. It's a really hands-on sector. You know, people haven't got a lot of time, and we needed to make sure that we were working as strongly and quickly as we could to maximize the time we did have with them. And managers, getting the managers on board and bringing them along for the journey as well. And what we love at the end is success. That's what we wanted. It's all about the residents at the end of the day within our care settings. We want to give more time to residents, have a better care solution for our residents, and hopefully and successfully we brought that in.
Yeah, so we took an approach as co-design, as Joe mentioned, where the people, technology and processes all took the lead at some point. We wanted to make this project about the users, so of course the requirements came from them. Our user research came from shadowing and following nursing team members so that we could learn about the day-to-day, the hour-by-hour tasks that needed to be completed. We were literally walking alongside them in uniform at some points during the pandemic. By the end, we fully understood what needed to be done by each team to keep the nursing home going. The requirements were built on conversations, and we kept a presence within the homes, which showed we weren't just coming in from head office, but we really invested in what we're doing the right thing by them.
Thanks, Lynn. I think Lynn touched on a really important part there. We were based on site and we built that trust. But the main thing that we did was bring those staff along on the journey with us. And that meant getting them involved with the demos. And that was care assistants, SNCAs, nurses, managers, everyone that would be hands-on in using that system. We wanted a really clean, simple look and feel. And at the end of the day, as long as the solutions that we demoed met the requirements, it was the care staff's decision. You know, it's not our decision. We've got our thoughts on a technology side, but as long as those requirements are met, we wanted our staff to have power and control over what they were going to be using. It really, really helps with buy-in. It's their system, they're using it day in, day out, and that was the key bit for us. Simple and them to own. Fab. So once we picked our solutions, which were done quite closely together, and we needed to make sure we had all of the integrations, especially between our care planning and our electronic medications. If we put something into one solution, we wanted it to go over to the next one. And that was from user profiles to certain care planning elements that would go into medication. And if we distributed medication, we wanted that to go into care planning. And that was to build a full picture, but also to save duplication of input and data, again, giving our staff more time and you know, more time with the residents. Absolutely brilliant. We took subject matter experts from the field as well. We were really, really lucky. And if any of you get the opportunity to do this, is actually grab subject matter expert and bring them in to the technology team or whatever team you're part of, as that skin in the game. You know, they know what they're doing, they can help influence decisions, and it made a massive, massive difference. It gives buy-in, it gives trust, and I just loved it. I do it in all my projects now. If you can take that member of staff, do it. And And on top of that, we utilised champions. So in each care home, in each team, we selected people that were keen on either technology or had shown an interest in what they were doing, and brought them into it as well. So once the solutions had been delivered, people didn't have to go, oh, I'm not sure what I'm doing, I need to contact tech. It was all in-house. They had their own champions they could go to that they knew, they felt comfortable with. And again, it goes back to it being theirs and them owning it. And that was a really key thing for us in our success. Fab. And then release. Again, hands-on support. We were always on site, as Linda said in the very first part, and that was something we continued throughout the project. We made sure we were there. You know, I was there 6 o'clock in the morning for rollouts of electronic medications, as were all of the team, and it makes a massive, massive difference. We worked around them. So for one of our electronic medications, it was actually the night shift that went first, and they were doing the first med round of the morning. We made sure we had some champions on board. We'd sorted the rotas out to go, who's going to be there that knows the product, that knows what they need to do. And we buddied people up that maybe weren't so confident, and maybe with some of those technophobes, with those champions. So they had a really great first experience. And the feedback from that was fantastic. We had one lady who was really nervous. I'm going to leave the business. I might retire. After the first session, she's like, is that it? I was like, yes, that is it. So we worked around them. We made sure they were comfortable. They had hands-on support, and we took their feedback on board. You know, nothing's perfect when you first roll it out, but we listened to what they had to say. And then for the next rollout at the other sites, we could tweak what we were doing. So we were always improving on what was on offer.
So what made this the biggest success from us was that from the very beginning, we laid a foundation of trust. Joe's mentioned that a few times. When we were asked about the project, we had open and honest conversations and addressed all concerns. Most were technology related early on, but we managed expectations and made sure that they felt that they would be fully supported. We had early buy-in from execs and managers, and we had super users who would become central to the project because the decisions that were made were based on their combined knowledge and were championed across the whole project team. We became influencers. Joe and I had built some credibility because everyone had felt heard. I recorded vox pops at various stages, which were then put together to demonstrate to real experiences to the care board and other teams as we rolled out the systems. The care board were delighted to see these as they were hearing directly from the staff rather than taking the word of the management that everything was going to plan. Our people were our biggest advocates, and we could when we used them to show the next group that everything was going to be okay. If we can do it, then so can you. And it was super easy. Like Joe said, everyone from the nighttime staff that didn't write very much, you know, they were really good for it. They loved it.
Great. And yes, you know, the key thing throughout this is communication. And the program board, as I said, we had, you know, our business owner, which was our exec director for nursing, our managers in there. We even had, when we were looking at rostering, bringing in HR as well, and payroll to make sure they had some skin in the game. So it's bringing in the right people at the right time into that program board. But again, right down to the care staff. So everyone had a voice, and we ran those not roughly about monthly, so we could give updates, we could talk about any challenges that we were having, we could remove any blockers really quickly and really simply by having the right people in the room. And again, we communicated to the nursing home teams as well. So Linda was fantastic at this, of going in, talking at team meetings, and again, our super users being part of that could instill some information during those times too. And as we've said on multiple occasions, tech on site, we were there, we were hands-on, but a couple of days a week, I would base myself, as Linda and a couple of others would do, on site. So if people had questions, they could just come up and ask, and you became part of the team. And that was really instrumental in having some key success, where people would just wander up and go, oh, you know that app you're talking about? Like, great, let's spend a couple of minutes talking. And then they would go away going, that sounds really great. So they would start talking to their colleagues, and suddenly you had some brilliant momentum and real interest in what was going on.
Yeah. Before we moved on from the first release in the first nursing home, remember that we had 3 to go through altogether. We reflected and revisited our approach. We had received some feedback from the manager that was saying it wasn't working, that people couldn't do it and nothing was going right. So we took that feedback and returned to the person who provided it at their next shift so we could see in real time what was happening. Whilst we were there, we learned that the Wi-Fi connection was problematic, so hotspots were identified. We asked them to show us what they were finding difficult usability-wise, and they said that they liked it, but it was so slow. So we asked if they wanted their papers back, and they said no, they definitely didn't want that, so they'd go with the slowness. So we keep that now as a little mantra. Do you want your papers back? What it did show us, though, was that the computers they were using were outdated and they needed to be upgraded. So both the Wi-Fi and the hardware were reported back to the tech team, and changes were made to both. The performance of the staff and the systems really depended on this.
Fab. And then I suppose we come to our key hexagon.
Benefits.
Key benefits, or key hexagon. So yeah, I'll start with assurance. And it gave managers the assurance that the data was right. They could see things in real time. It was transparent. You could check your compliance information, and that created a culture of confidence in what was happening within the care homes.
Yeah, there was the satisfaction from the colleagues. They had less paperwork, removed duplication, their pay was accurate, they could book leave, they could swap shifts, they had help completing tasks or reminders to complete tasks. The errors were reduced and it was accessible for everybody.
Efficiency increased. We had automated rostering. The removal of papers was key, and it really changed from being a lengthy process to quite a quick, on-the-fly solution for a lot of our care staff. We reduced admin time, and for me, that reduction in admin time gave our care staff the time to really, really look after our residents, to do what matters, and that was key.
Yeah. Also across the homes, it provided a consistency. So each home, although they're different, they had different personalities and different management styles there became a standardization across the outputs and the audits and things like that. So that consistency was really important as well. Yeah.
And accuracy increased no end. Things were clear to see immediately. If a medication was late or due, or PRN was due to be looked at, so rather than having to go through individual charts, it was there in real time. As Lynn said, we had prompts for missing information. All of these things were at the touch of a button for people, and it was great.
Yeah, and from the business side of it, there was the level of compliance on there. So you could measure everything. All the data might be boring for some, might be really interesting for others, but that data was really rich, that wasn't available before because it was all on paper. So there's no way of extracting it out. So that compliance and auditing and reporting became one of the key benefits out of this too.
And most of all of the things around the outside have given us time. Saving all of those hours and hours gives more time for the real value impact work with our residents. We're removing duplication of papers from care planning to medication. All of these things that you go, do you know, I don't mind doing it. Minutes and minutes here add up to hours and hours. And the time we saved was truly valuable, that could be put back into our residents. And then our outcomes. So if you think we had 3 care homes, the time in saving per year is wild. We've got over another 1,000 hours to give to our residents, and that's just from admin tasks being reduced. And for me, that is the absolute winner on this. We ran this over 6 months for this study, 0 medication errors, and that's really unheard of. And they, things were picked up really, really quickly within sometimes minutes and hours. So we knew we were on top of it. So we're really proud of 0 errors through the medications, and it's really important, again, for the welfare of our residents. And for our staff, our staff are hourly rates, they pick up hours here, they might do some overtime there. We reduced any pay errors by 2/3, and that's a massive saving and a real improvement for our staff. It gave them confidence that actually they're working, they're going to get paid. It helps with staff retention and staff being happy where they work. They feel valued and they know they're going to get paid correctly at the end of the day. So, happy staff mean happy residents and happy care homes and happy us at the end of the day. So yeah, some brilliant outcomes from the project, which was done pretty darn quickly. We were rolling out something new to each care home every month. 3 things rolled out every month for 3 months. Was hard work, but I think these outcomes really show that it was worth it.
It was worth it, definitely.
It was.
Yeah. So that's it from us. So are there any other questions? We can see any pop up.
Thank you very much. I'm still sitting here taking in the numbers involved there, the 1,000 hours saved. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So yeah,
6
well
hours
done.
a
Thank
day.
you ever so much. Yeah.
If you break it right down, it's an extra 6
well done.
hours
I
a
couldn't
day
do that quick
per
enough.
care home. Here's what I prepared earlier.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you very much for sharing all of that. I know we've definitely got one question in the chat, and I'm going to take a moment to read this. Anybody else with any comments or questions, please dive in. So this is from Stefan, who is a product manager. What do you think was the key to getting the technophobes, in inverted commas, on board early on in the process?
Yeah, for me, it was listening, and identifying who they might be, and rather than putting them to one side, actually engaging them in the process. So bringing some of them into the demos as well was really useful, alongside the people that love tech. We wanted to show how simple it was, buddying them up again with some of the more confident staff was really, really good. And again, that brought them along on the journey with it. If they had any bugbears, nipping it in the bud really quickly. So listening and acting. Linda, I don't know about you from
from our side, there was some research that was done prior as well. That was what caused technophobes within that group. And it was mainly how do you use technology at home? It was more the fact that we were saying, oh, this is a new system for you to use at work. And that seemed kind of a bit scary. But how do you use technology at home? And they were saying, oh, I have Facebook or I use Instagram. Oh, okay, well, the system is designed to be really intuitive. It's like Facebook, except it's your residents. So it's the care plan, except it's an update of their status of what you've gone to do with them today. So it was kind of just reframing it a little bit and not making it so business, and allowing them to kind of think, oh yeah, actually I do use Facebook at home on my phone and things like that. So but all of it was support and listening mostly.
Okay, that's great, thank you. Yeah, that's really fascinating, isn't it? Making it something relatable and not scaring people away. Yeah, that's a good point. Because people do think about digital products and services differently when they're in work to when they're at home. They could be a whiz kid on their latest gadget, but terrified of a new system in work. That's really interesting. Thank you. I wonder, sorry, I've got a quick follow-up on that, about the amount of time that it took. So I know you said you were spending a lot of time in the homes and you were working with people and you were there on hand, and that would have helped build trust, as you say. Was it time? Well, I think the answer is obviously a yes. Was it time well invested? Do you think what would have happened otherwise?
Oh, completely. It can be seen sometimes as head office, a bit of us in them, or well, they don't really understand what we do. So by being there, seeing what they do, you know, making some residents a cuppa, making the staff a cuppa, answering a telephone, you know, listening to what is going on, so valuable. Wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
Time well invested.
Definitely.
All day long.
Yeah, not only the knowledge that we learned from as part of the project, but the empathy that we had for them as well. Like, we literally understood their job, and I mean, we only were in there for a matter of months, and they're in there every day, you know. So it was that, yeah, we built that real understanding and empathy for what they do, and they're all amazing. So we're glad that we were able to give them something like that.
Yeah, you become part of their team, and that's a real key.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's the word empathy's got it for me there. I think, you know, you've understood them, where they are, what they faced on a daily basis.
Yeah,
and you've built something that meets their needs in that case, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
you've satisfied what they needed.
Yeah.
Fabulous, thank you. So I've got a comment and a bit of a question. It is a question. So Jack in the chat said, sounds really positive. Being approached by staff as you described is a really good sign. And he's interested in your methodology for bringing people together. So when you've got people into a room together, what tasks or exercises got their knowledge and experience into the project?
Yeah, I think one thing that we did, so we had our program boards where we got a lot of people into the room, but one of the earlier things that we did in the project, after Linda had gone in and done a lot of the requirements and research, was actually bringing all of those people that we spoke to into a room together, because funnily enough, you get a lot of conflicting requirements that a manager wants something, but actually the care staff want something different, and both are going, but it's really important to me, it's a must-have, no wiggle room. So we brought everyone together and it's almost a day's worth of time actually, and went through all of the different requirements and why they were important, and those that we had contradictions or conflicts with, we talked through, and that was a really important thing that we did to get to the bottom of why it was important for people. And a lot of the time it turned out that the care staff, the boots on the ground, we were going to go with their requirements for most of it, because they are the ones utilising it all the time. The manager might pop in, have a look at a report, but actually, are they going and delivering the care, needing to do the write-ups for whatever activities might have been done that day? No, it's boots on the ground. So we got everyone together, we talked it out, and that was a real key task and exercise that we undertook that added real value, because we got to the bottom of all of those requirements.
Yeah, I've got nothing much to add to that, other than when like we did the rollout and that support that we were there, when I was doing the videos and things like that, for the purpose of showing to others of how we were getting on with it. And yeah, they just became real raw comments about how they were feeling about it, and we could work on those as well. But because we were there doing the rollout, supporting, troubleshooting, everything like that, so people found it easy to approach us. Like Jo said earlier, she was working from there before, so that we were familiar, and yeah, so people were happy to come and ask us questions. They weren't worried about that.
Hope that's sorted, Jack. I think so. Comment in the chat again. Great session, thank you. People's got to start going, so that prompts me to say, let's wrap it up. But thank you very much. I'm going to take control of the screen again and just finish off. Diolch yn fawr. Okay, so as we conclude today, hope you're feeling inspired and equipped with some insights to drive digital transformation in your own organisation. Massive thank you to Linda and Jo for sharing the story with us. It's inspirational. If you'd like to reach out to Linda or Jo directly, please let us know, and I'm sure we can make those connections. But before you go, please scan that QR code on the screen and tell us how you found it. Tell us a little bit about this event. Elise will be popping the link in the chat. I think she's probably already done it. She's amazing. And it's all about things like, how much do you agree with the following statements? The lunch and learn made sense to me. I learned something new. I'd like to start trying these techniques in my organisation. I still have questions. And we'd like to know your main takeaway, or if you have any other feedback. So it's a quick instant feedback, helps us tailor these to your needs. hopefully I've talked long enough now for you to have scanned that QR code, and I'm going to skip on just to do a little bit of an advert to the rest of the series. So if you've been inspired today, please come back. The next one's in 2 weeks' time, and in that one, Ian Vaughan, who is Head of Product and Delivery at Neath Port Talbot Council, will be here to talk about their cost savings and efficiency savings that they've managed to make through robotic process automation. Some of you may know it as RPA, robotic process automation. And then finally, bonus event, because we didn't expect this at the beginning, but we've got an extra edition at the end of the series. And this one is Jason Evans, the Open Data Manager at the National Library of Wales, talking about his work pulling together data from right across Wales, right across the sector in Wales, using Wikibase. But if you have a project you'd like to showcase for future Lunch and Learn, doesn't matter how small or how big a win it is, please drop us a line. I think, yes, Elisa's put the address in the chat. It's comms@digitalpublicservices.gov.wales, and we'll pick it up and get back to you to come along. One last thing from me. I know I'm pushing my luck now. We're over the time. But just to say, we have this lovely event taking place next Wednesday. Is it? This Wednesday. This Wednesday. Goodness me, yeah. This Wednesday in Cardiff in the Spark building. It's a hackathon run in partnership with Compass. There are some spaces left, so there's a link, I think, already. At least it's on top form. It's in the chat or there. Just give it a click, book your tickets now, and come along and join. It says for our communities of practice. You don't have to be a member of the communities of practice, but you may be interested in those too. So just a final advert for me, and a final thank you. Diolch yn fawr iawn to our presenters today. Much appreciated, fascinating, inspiring story. And we'll wrap up there. Join us in our upcoming sessions to keep exploring what good looks like in digital public services. Thanks all for your contributions. Have a lovely day. Have a great rest of the week.
Thanks.
Diolch yn fawr.
Bye.